Good afternoon. We're glad to welcome you to our SAP Tech Talks webinar. A few words regarding the event organization. The webinar will be recorded and then posted on our YouTube channel. You may ask all your questions in the Q&A field. Today's speaker is Kirils Gekiss, and the topic of his webinar is AI Revolution, Empowering SAP Development with ChatGPT. I give the floor to our speaker.
Hello everyone, my name is Kirils. Let me share my screen and let's start. I'm delighted to be here today to discuss the exciting topic of using ChatGPT to build SAP applications. There is a lot of hype around ChatGPT lately, and today we will explore how we can leverage ChatGPT in SAP CAP and SAC development, as well as some other use cases of it. So first of all, a few words about myself. I'm an EPAM employee. I'm experienced SAP HANA developer and certified SAC consultant. I have 3 years of industry experience. I have successfully delivered numerous projects in the SAP ecosystem. In addition to my expertise in SAP HANA and SAC, I have gained valuable experience working with SAP Data Intelligence, DataSphere, and also have some basic knowledge of programming languages. I'm completely new to the SAP CAP, so it was quite a journey, but we will cover it in a bit. Also, I'm currently pursuing master's degree in computer science at Riga Technical University and planning to finish it this year. And I'm proud to have been recognized as the EPAM Supper of the Year in the nomination Newcomer Star. Okay, enough about me. Agenda for today is what is ChatGPT, features and its promised potential in SAP context, building SAP CAP application with ChatGPT assistance, exploring other SAP and non-SAP use cases for ChatGPT, and legal consideration when utilizing ChatGPT. And then we will have Q&A session as well. So now before we dive into the specifics, let me provide you with a brief overview of what ChatGPT is and how it works. By understanding the capabilities of this impressive tool, we can better grasp its potential for enhancement our approach to SAP application development. So I asked to tell ChatGPT about its features in SAP domain, and this is the definition that ChatGPT gave about itself. ChatGPT is an advanced language model trained on SAP-specific data powered by OpenAI's GPT 3.5 architecture. It generates coherent and contextually appropriate responses in the SAP domain. And then it listed its key advantages or features. So first was application flexibility. ChatGPT states that it can assist and provide guidance on code generation, query resolution, best practices, documentation support, training, and onboarding. Another feature is SAP integration. It is capable of integrating with SAP systems and platforms for seamless interaction. Language support, it understands and generates response in ABAP, SAP HANA SQL script, and other SAP-specific languages. Domain adaptation, it can be fine-tuned and customized to specific SAP modules or industry verticals. And realistic and human-like, it generates responses that resemble human language, facilitating natural interactions. So, okay, let's test it out. Will ChatGPT help us build SAP CAP application or not? So idea of the project was to have SAP CAP application that allow users to view, add, modify, and delete beers and beer types and breweries, while also having ability to select beer types and breweries from the predefined lists using Fiori application interface. So first step was to set up SAP CAP project from scratch. So first of all, I tried to follow ChatGPT advices on how to do it, but it looked promising at the start, but very quickly faith vanished since after initializing the project, ChatGPT started to give comments that were not executable, either outdated or just wrong. And providing their message to the ChatGPT and explaining what possibly could be done differently, it didn't give any results, and ChatGPT continued to provide useless advices. So with the help of tutorials, I was able to set up project myself, and I could move on. So first step was to define data model. I explained to ChatGPT what I would like to do, and it prepared for me uh, CDS code, and also it provided the services. Also, I explained a bit more what I want to do and created new more CDS entities for me and added associations to them. And then I asked to update previously created service to have more entities added to it, and it nailed it from the first attempt. So cool. Now we have defined data model with the help of ChatGPT, and it was quite helpful in that. Next thing was to generate sample data. ChatGPT kindly generated dummy data in CSV format for us without any problem. And now it was time to work on the user interface. I have asked ChatGPT how to accomplish that. And it was the moment when ChatGPT failed by advising installing some outdated or non-existing packages. So I understood that it couldn't help me with that, and I had to set up Fiori using Fiori application generator. And as a result, app was generated, but there was no entries. So I had to create UI annotations. Annotations of entities with UI provided by ChatGPT were fine, um, but yeah, as we can see on the second picture, but I had to do some editing myself to make it work. And yeah, I tried to explain what looks like it is wrong, but ChatGPT failed to giving me the working results, so I had to do it manually. So it was kind of helpful with the UI annotations, but not really. So anyway, still manual input was needed at this step. So now let's enable interaction with data model through AI. So now I can see the entries, but I'm not able to new add entry in Fiori interface button is not available. So ChatGPT advised some strange solutions that were not working. So first of all, it suggested to add this OData write part in the service part, and as well it recommended me to create some new services that also didn't work. So I had to check myself the SAP tutorials and check how to make it work. After fixing it, I had to fix the UI annotations as well, since the ChatGPT was not able to do it for me. Um, but still, I was not successful. I still was not able to. So now the button appeared, actually, a button to create entity appeared, but I wasn't able to enter any attributes to it. So something was still wrong. So I asked ChatGPT what it thinks about it. Maybe we missed something, and then ChatGPT suddenly remembers that we are missing field group part in annotation. So it was still not working, this code. I So I started to investigate examples and found some differences in the syntax. Asked to fix it, uh, and but still the problems persisted. Then I checked the another examples as well, and then I noticed that the other examples contains so-called facet part, and I asked ChatGPT, maybe we're missing facet part, and then ChatGPT suddenly says, "Oh yeah, sure, you're correct. The facets should be placed there and there," and it make it work. So now you are able to add new entries, but the new problem appeared. So because our dummy data was numbered. So the dummy entries were numbered starting from 1 to 5. So IDs were from 1 to 5. And when you were creating a new entries, it also started numeration from 1. And in that case, um, the old records were overwritten by the new ones. So we had so-called non-unique ID issue. And I asked ChatGPT how to fix it, and it was able to fix it in a very quick. It was able to fix it very really quick. So yeah, we could move on. Next, we would like to enhance our UI. As I mentioned in the project idea, it was a requirement to select breweries and beer types from the predefined list instead of typing it myself. So I was trying to ask ChatGPT how to do it, how to achieve it, but it was giving not working solutions. Then I used trick to feed working solution and ask to apply it to my project. So It was not working, to be honest. So the IDE was complaining about syntax, or something was off. Um, I had to check the existing examples and in SAP tutorials and fix the code, and now it was working. So as you can see, there are two small squares near brewery and beer type input field that indicates that we can select breweries and beer type from the predefined list. Okay, so this part we were able to achieve mainly ourselves, so ChatGPT was not helpful here as well. Okay, now I decided to add some custom logic. So I wanted to have some formatting of beer rating to make it more appealing. After some unsuccessful attempts, I was able to get custom service code, but I had to explain very precisely how to I want to accomplish that. Assigning the criticality attribute that I had to add myself is somehow working, but since ChatGPT is not able to annotate UI, I had to do this part myself. So again, ChatGPT was able to give me a somehow working JavaScript code, no JS code, sorry. But so I still had to do some manual adjustments to make it work uh, as I expected to work. Um, Now, yeah, so I had working code, but now I encounter different problem after creating a new product. The app fall in infinite loop, and at some point it just uh, how to say it, like closed itself, failed, and I had to fix it. So again, I tried to use this trick of providing working example, and I got new code, and it was still not working as I expected. So I had to do some adjustments myself. And at the end, we were able to see the criticality icons near the B rating that you can see on the third picture. Okay, now it's working, and we have somehow working up with the model, with the services, and with the user experience. Let's evaluate the whole process, and let's check in which part of development the ChatGPT was helpful and where it was not. So first point, setting up the project, it was not helpful at all. So next step was defining CDS entities and annotations. Here, ChatGPT was helpful and it was able to provide exactly what I wanted and what I needed. It was also able to help me to generate sample data. It was not helpful with setting up user interface and exposing data to user interface. It was somehow helpful in annotating the UI, but only partially. So anyway, manual input was needed there. Enhancing the UI, also not helpful, and it was somehow helpful in providing Node.js code to adding custom logic. So that's it about SAP CAP development. Let's check other SAP use cases for the Chat GPT. So since I'm SAC consultant, I try to use ChatGPT in my daily routine. And so let's explore first of all where ChatGPT was not helpful. So SAC has different types of reports. One of those is analytical applications. Analytical applications are highly customizable reports that supports scripting in JavaScript, but it uses its own JavaScript subset, and it has some objects that are not known to the regular JavaScript. And even ChatGPT is confident in its answers about SAC analytical application scripts. Those mostly are not working, and those are not that helpful. The different thing where ChatGPT was not helpful was advanced formula step for data actions. So SEC also gives you possibilities to do planning, financial planning, and the responsibility to do the calculations using a scripting language called advanced formulas. And ChatGPT was honest about it that it is not capable of writing this code. Okay, so let's move on to the useful use cases for ChatGPT. So first of all, some enthusiasts were able to embed ChatGPT inside the SAC as separate widget. I will give you the links to all the materials mentioned in this talk later on, so you can check it yourself. So yeah, as you can see, there are at least two instances of the embedding ChatGPT inside the SAC application. So for some reason, if client or you want to have ChatGPT by your hand in SAC report, it's possible to do it. The next step, the next thing where the ChatGPT was useful is creating custom widgets. So I was able real quick to create following widget. So uh, by clicking on the certain row in the table that contains data about different uh, about different towns and how many bikes was rented. So it was example I set up myself, and by clicking on certain row, you were able to see the current temperature. So yeah, it was really quickly created, and I was quite impressed by how easily ChatGPT nailed it. So to explain you a little bit how custom widgets are created, so those are made out of mainly out of two files. So first one is JSON file that defines all parts of the widget and its methods, and I had to create this part myself. And the second part is JS file that is web component. And since web component is not specific to SAC thing, the ChatGPT was able to create it. It explained me how to use the API that provides you weather in certain city when you provide the city name and the country code. And after a few, let's say in half an hour, I was able to set up this custom widget. And also I will provide the code to this custom widget in the link I will share at the end of the talk. Um, the next thing where ChatGPT was useful are R visualizations. So first of all, I just asked ChatGPT to give me some random R code and to embed inside the SAC report, and it worked just fine. And then I thought, okay, let's imagine a more realistic case that I already have the data and I want to have some R visualization to it. So again, I created this data set with the help of ChatGPT, and then I said, okay, I have following data set. Can you create some R visualization for me? And as you can see, two bottom charts being created by ChatGPT. And I assume if you provide the exact explanation of which R visualization you want to create, it will create it for you. Where I was not successful is using Chat. Yeah, the only problem I had encountered is creating our visualization with input parameters. There was not much information about it on the internet, so I have to try to fix it manually, but with no success. Maybe it is some SAC restrictions or ChatGPT uh, gave the wrong code, but I was not able to create our visualization that uses input control from the report. Yeah, but in overall, I believe the ChatGPT is very helpful in creating our visualization if you have such demand. So let's talk about use cases outside the SAC scope. So I also had task to create some ABAP CDS views, and since I was not familiar with the ABAP CDS syntax, I tried to use apologies. I tried to use ChatGPT to help me. Um, but unfortunately it was not that helpful because it provided some unworking solutions and giving some not existing keywords in above CDS scope. So I would say it was not that helpful. But where it was helpful actually is translating different SQL dialects for my. Um, so I was quite, I would say, I was surprised that when you type SQL statements in ABAP SQL console, you have to use tilde symbol instead of dots when you uh, like precisely telling from which data source you want to select certain column. You had to use the tilde symbol, and I was not aware of it, and I just typed the SQL statement in SAP HANA syntax and asked to translate it to the ABAP SQL console syntax, and the ChatGPT was able to help me with that. So I assume it can translate between many different SQL dialects, and it could be useful um, for you in some use cases. That's it about SAP use cases of ChatGPT. Let's explore some different use cases that could be useful in our daily routine. So first of all is creating Excel macros. So when you have very restricted environments, for example, you having only SAC available for testing purposes, you need to transform data before updating it to SAC, for example. And it was case in one of my projects that we had only SAC, and I had to transform data somehow. And I just asked ChatGPT to create the Excel macros for me, uh, and it nailed it. And yeah, it was really helpful. But there was some limitation from the Excel part, so it was not able to um, transform big amounts of data, so I had to do it in iterations. But anyway, I end up having results I needed, and the ChatGPT was able to create pretty complex Excel macros for complex data transformation. Different thing, but I believe it's mostly known already that ChatGPT can help you generating polite business emails or messages. You just provide what exactly you need, and it gives you the appropriate, good-looking text with no errors and so on. Also, it helps with generating speeches. So also this talk was prepared with the help of ChatGPT. Not all of it, but some parts I used it to help me generate the speech. That's it about the use cases of ChatGPT. Let's talk about very important topic about legal consideration when utilizing ChatGPT. So most important thing is data privacy. So when using ChatGPT, it is important to consider what data you're feeding to it. You should consider that ChatGPT is a third party, and most likely you cannot just feed to it your whole project and ask to do tasks for you. You'll need to remember that you can't feed to it private or sensitive data as well as copyrighted data. You need to be abstract in your questions, because whenever you ask ChatGPT a question, you're taking responsibility of for data you're entering. Bias and fairness. So you need to be aware of potential biases that may exist in the training data and take steps to mitigate them. So in case if you're embedding the ChatGPT in your solution, you need to take in account that some responses could be um, sensitive, let's say so. It is important to ensure that the responses generated by ChatGPT do not discriminate or favor any specific group. And as well, you should be transparent, and so transparency and explainability is important. Strive for transparency in the use of ChatGPT. Clearly communicate to users that they are interacting with an AI-powered system, and manage expectation regarding the capabilities and limitations of the technology. And the perfect example of that was, so I asked the ChatGPT, does it sells users' data to the third party? And it stated that it does not. But the first thing I seen in the Facebook when I was taking a break from creating this app was um, types of beer suggested post, whatever. So I'm not sure was it ChatGPT or it was Google Chrome or my internet provider or whoever, but it clearly shows that the data uh, that you give to the ChatGPT somehow is leaking, and the at least Facebook gets it. So and if Facebook is able to get it, someone else for sure able to get it as well. So be very cautious on what do you feed to ChatGPT. And but let's finish talk on the positive note with some funny pictures. And many people scared of AI talking over the world, but even ChatGPT, most hyped AI tool, is failing to perform easy from our perspective tasks as well. Now, business requirements and context are sometimes very complex and sometimes quite unique, and just fitting what clients wants to the AI models for a very long time will not give them expected results. So I'm sure that we as developers, analysts, and overall IT people are safe, and there is nothing to be worried about. And thank you for your attention. Let's now start the Q&A part, and I will give you a moment to scan the QR code where you can find all the materials being used to prepare this presentation, also as well as all the source codes, for example, for SAP CAP application and as well for as custom widget. Thank you for your attention, and let's go to the Q&A part.
Thank you, Kirill. So we have several questions. The first question is, can you please tell us how much did it take to develop such an application? Is it more time consuming in comparison with the traditional way of development?
So if you're talking about SAP CAP application, I would say it was, I would believe, so since I was quite new to the SAP CAP, it was more learning for me, and and ChatGPT was kind of assistant in this learning journey. So when I was stuck in something, I had to go back to the tutorials myself, but it was more interesting to learn in following way than so asking ChatGPT and then finding out that it's not able to perform something, and you have to go back to the tutorials or to the documentation. So I believe the learning is more fun in following way, and maybe it's somehow easier. So it saves you from the routine tasks, for example, as defining the sample data to check is your app working or not. Um, yeah. So I can't say it's longer. Maybe it's longer, but it's much interesting in that way. I would say like that. I will answer like that.
Mhm. Got it. Thank you. So the next question. As far as I know, Cloud Application Programming Model is the tool which is actively developed by SAP, so new features are constantly appearing, and ChatGPT knowledge is quite obsolete up to now. For example, when I asked him to help with writing CDS files, it gave me some outdated information. So I wonder how it can help here.
So yeah, you are correct. The ChatGPT uses, I believe, so its learning data is limited to 2021, I assume, or something like that. So yeah, the new technologies are not being so materials about new technologies are not in ChatGPT learning materials. So yeah, its knowledge is obsolete in some fields. And as I shown in the presentation, the ChatGPT was able to help only with some tasks. So and as I mentioned many times, I had to return to the traditional documentation and tutorials to make the thing work. So I believe you're right, and it's not that helpful. But as I mentioned a while ago, a bit ago, that it helps you to save time on some routine tasks. As a good example is preparing the sample data for your application.
Got it. Thank you. So, while you are generating new questions, we encourage you to join our community on other social networks: Facebook, Telegram, LinkedIn, and of course, we're a community platform via the link in the chat. By the way, don't miss the registration for our upcoming SAP Tech Talk, New Approach to Data Transformation and Migration, Harnessing the Power of SAP BTC on July the 13th. The registration link is available in the mentioned chat. So let's get down to other questions. The next question is, are there any limitations of using ChatGPT, number of queries during the day or hour, and so on? And is it free for you? Is it free, or you have to pay for your full functionality?
So, from what I experienced, so the ChatGPT, that online version is free, and you're able to use it, but you're limited. So it has limits on how many requests it can perform or fulfill in certain amount of time, and when it's overloaded, it just don't let you log into the chat gpt. Yeah, so just don't opens to you, and it says it's overloaded, please wait a bit. Yeah, so but as from what I expected, when it's available and there is not much requests at the moment, it's completely free and you can use it how much you like, so I believe there are no limitations. But of course, it's only if you want to leverage all the um, functionality of the ChatGPT, you want to get a license for it, and you have to pay for the uh, so-called tokens. So for each generated um, character set, you pay certain amount of money, but you can also train the ChatGPT on your own data, and it could be much more helpful if you train ChatGPT on your data. But the free version that is using this obsolete data set of learning materials until 2021, it is completely free.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. We have one more question, which is a little bit similar to the previous one, but I think I will repeat it to make sure that the answer is given to this question. So, in your experience, were you using the default GTP version, which is 3.5 based on ChatGPT, or a more advanced version, GPT-4?
I have used the default 3.5 language model. I believe so. When I started preparing this talk, I believe so the GPT-4 was not available yet, but I'm not sure. But and during the creation and preparation for this talk, the ChatGPT-4 appeared, and I decided to not to switch to it. Yeah, so I use the default 3.5 language model.
Yeah, perfect. So the next question is, can you please share the presentation? I have a meeting with an SAP client. I think I can help you with this. So anyway, you share the QR code where the author of the question can find more information, and the recording, as I already said, the recording will be available on our YouTube channel, so you will be able to use it and share with your clients. So, and the last question for today, uh, is there a workaround to overcome the token limitation in the LLM input prompt when modifying or refactoring existing programs or project?
So this question is more in depth about machine learning, and I believe I'm not. It was out of scope of this preparation to this talk, so I can't give you the precise answer. So um, if we're talking about the token limitation in the free version, the solution would be to get the paid version, and then you pay for each token you're getting. So if you're talking about ChatGPT, but if we're talking about it in general, I believe I'm not able to answer it, unfortunately, because it was out of the scope of preparation to this talk.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot for an interesting presentation. As already mentioned, today's webinar recording will be posted on our YouTube channel, and the links to the recording will be sent separately. Colleagues, thank you very much for your participation and have a nice day.